What is Russia really hiding above the Barents Sea? The Norwegian Armed Forces suddenly released mysterious interception photos through their official X account. Not without reason, something unusual is unfolding in that strategic airspace. Unusual movements, maneuvers that raise questions, and a message seemingly delivered without words. What is truly happening behind the tension? Keep your eyes on the full story. The gray skies over the Barents Sea once again bear silent witness to the fact that Russia's air superiority is not merely rhetoric on paper, but a reality that makes NATO defensive heart beat faster. Norwegian F-35 fighter jets swiftly took off from Irbis-E air base. Yet what they encountered was not a routine formation, but a calm, yet deadly demonstration of power by the Russian Air Force. Two giant Tu-95 strategic bombers, the legendary aircraft that continues to haunt the West, flew gracefully, escorted by one of the most feared fighter jets in its class, the Su-35S. Interestingly, these escort jets came from the legendary aerobatic team, the Russian Knights. Why was a team that usually dazzles audiences at international air shows now positioned on the front line in full combat configuration? The West, through media narratives and intelligence analyses, quickly attempted to shape the perception that the presence of Russian Knights jets signaled weakness. They speculated that Russia was running low on Su-35S aircraft due to the intensity of the fighting in Ukraine, forcing it to pull ceremonial planes into operational roles. They pointed to satellite imagery from Lipetsk Air Base, showing several Su-35 units in storage areas, as evidence of Russian machine fatigue. But is it really plausible that a power as vast as Russia would lose its edge so quickly? Or could this instead be a calculated strategy, an intelligent rotation of assets designed to ensure that every pilot, including those with near-superhuman maneuvering skills from the aerobatic team, remains in peak combat readiness? Western narratives often turn a blind eye to the fact that the Russian Knights pilots are not merely aerial performers. They are the elite of the elite, and flying the Su-35S with active air-to-air missiles in international airspace is not a sign of desperation, but a clear message that there is no safe zone for NATO, even along its northern borders. While Western observers are busy calculating the service life of Russian aircraft, they overlook the reality that Russia's defense industry is currently operating at peak production capacity. The appearance of Su-35S aircraft at the Lipetsk storage facility is most likely not a sign that they are being discarded, but rather part of a strict preventive maintenance cycle to ensure these machines remain ready for the worst-case scenario. So if Russia is truly as weak as they claim, why does NATO still have to deploy its most advanced assets every time the shadow of a Russian aircraft appears on radar? Tensions do not stop in the air. At sea, Russia's Northern Fleet demonstrates that it remains the dominant force in the Arctic region. The missile cruiser Marshal Ustinov, one of Russia's most formidable warships, recently conducted artillery and air defense firing exercises just a few miles from Norway's maritime border. These drills were not mere routine simulations. The crew trained to destroy land and sea targets, as well as confront modern threats such as unmanned robotic systems. The presence of this vessel makes the West uneasy, and that is precisely the point. Russia is asserting that the Kola Peninsula, home to its nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, is a fortress that must not be disturbed. Protecting these strategic nuclear assets is a top priority, and Northern Fleet exercises serve as the shield that ensures Russia's nuclear deterrent remains impregnable. The uncertainty is further heightened by the issuance of notice to airmen, or notices closing airspace over the eastern Barents Sea and the White Sea. Such measures typically signal upcoming cruise missile launches from submarines or surface ships. At the same time, NATO attempts to flex its muscles through exercises such as Arctic Sentry and Cold Response 2026, involving more than a dozen countries. Although NATO insists that these large-scale drills are unrelated to the Russia-Ukraine conflict and are not aimed at Russia, the public can see through the rhetoric. If they are truly not directed at Russia, why conduct them in the extreme Arctic environment right on Moscow's doorstep? It appears that NATO claims are little more than media posturing to conceal a deeper systemic anxiety. The mere appearance of Russian jets on radar is enough to throw NATO coordination into disarray for days. Talking about Western fears, the center of all that anxiety is the Su-35S, a multi-role fighter jet that Russia has dubbed the Super Flanker. This aircraft is not merely an upgrade of the Su-27, but a masterpiece of engineering that combines speed, agility, and a radar system ahead of its time. The Su-35S's main advantage lies in its thrust vectoring engines, which allow it to perform maneuvers that are physically impossible for Western fighter jets. In the air, it acts as a predator capable of locking onto multiple targets simultaneously from long range using the Irbis-E radar, which is known for detecting even low radar cross-section objects. The Su-35S is designed to dominate the skies, destroy enemy aircraft before they even realize its presence, and if forced into close-range combat or a dogfight, its agility can cause enemy missiles to lose lock. Now, let us imagine a scenario in which the Su-35S faces the West's pride, the F-35. The F-35 indeed relies on stealth technology to remain hidden. However, in Russian combat philosophy, stealth is not everything. The Su-35S's Irbis-E radar has the capability to detect stealth targets at a sufficient range to initiate an ambush. Once the F-35 is detected, its primary advantage is gone. At closer range, the slower and less agile F-35 would become an easy target for the Su-35S, which can seemingly dance in the sky. The Su-35S can launch R-77 or R-37M missiles with very long ranges, forcing the F-35 to continually perform defensive maneuvers until it runs out of energy. This scenario explains why NATO pilots are always extremely cautious and tend to panic when encountering the Su-35S. They know that behind their expensive technology, there is a Russian predator ready to strike. However, an interesting shift is occurring within the Western Bloc itself. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom appear to be realizing that excessive dependence on United States military technology, particularly the highly expensive F-35 program with its many usage restrictions, is a strategic mistake. Reports that European countries want to reduce their technological dependence on the US signal that the F-35 may be the last American fighter jet they acquire. They are beginning to focus on developing their own next-generation fighter programs, such as Future Combat Air System and Global Combat Air Program. They want sovereignty over their weapon systems without having to wait for permission from Washington to press the launch button. If this trend continues, the United States' position as the primary supplier of global combat technology could weaken, creating greater opportunities for Russia to expand its technological influence on the international stage. That's all for today's episode, and thanks for watching.